What's going on, guys? Dropbear here, bringing you a Scuf gaming controller review. Just going to talk about the features and some other little things, and should you buy one. So let's kick it off. Scuf controller's a controller with paddles on the back, and these paddles can be assigned to be any button of your choosing on these four. Now, Scuf sells a button reassignment kit, which is an extra $25. And that allows you to assign the buttons whenever you want and however you want. Now, on the PlayStation 4, you can actually swap that on the software, so I do not recommend picking one of those up if you have a PlayStation, or if you're just going to use the controller for the PlayStation on its own. If you have an XIM4 kit, you can use this controller on anything, and maybe the electro remapping kit would be worth it then. But for me personally, I didn't get it because I didn't see much of a reason to get it. You can also get Scuf's own main sticks, and they range from small length, medium length to large length, have dome and concave, and I didn't get them. There is reasons, and I'll talk about them later on in the video. Just getting them out of the way, you can actually get them. You can get this disc thing, they call it a control disc, that goes on the D-pad and acts as a third joystick. So if you're into fighting games that use the D-pad and you don't like the D-pad, you can get that as an option. I personally didn't get it because I don't play fighting games, and I don't see myself in the future playing fighting games at all because I'm not a big fan of them. Customization and the coloring, it's fantastic. You can get a controller basically built for yourself. I decided to get something really simple. I just got blacked out buttons, which is an option. You can black out the buttons. I think that's the only color you can get. Else the only color I could get the blue. And I got the blue shell. Now the shell is not made out of the actual plastic that the PlayStation controllers use. It's actually a different kind of plastic, and same goes for the back shell as well with the grips. It's actually a completely different thing. I'm not sure what the material is, so I'm not going to say and give you misinformation. There is also trigger fangs on the PS4 or on the Xbox One. You can get trigger stops. The trigger fangs just make the triggers a little bit bigger if you're not a fan of the current trigger size. I personally think they are okay, so I didn't get them. Now, the quality of these things is pretty damn good. I haven't had any issues with this one. My last one, I had one issue, but I'll go to that in a minute. I found these controllers to be pretty damn good. They are very comfortable. The quality that they have built in is pretty high, and you know, everything about this controller just screams that Scuf is a fantastic company. The advantages of owning a Scuf. Now, to be honest, the advantage is pretty small. A lot of people will tell you that you need one to play at a high level, but to be perfectly honest, you don't. I only got this because I wanted a new controller and I wanted something that I really liked, and I really liked this controller from before, so I got another one. I would, if you're purely thinking of getting this to have an advantage in PvP for Destiny, for example, I can't recommend you just to get that. If you have a mindset that this is going to make your game 10 times better, you're probably not going to get the most utility out of this thing. You'd be better off buying something like a monitor or Astros. A monitor is probably the biggest game changer I've ever had. It just, having the visual and the sound is more important than having the extra buttons. But that is a completely different topic. Do they give you an advantage? Yes, they do give you an advantage, but the advantage is so minimal that it pretty much doesn't make a difference. It is nice to be able to look and jump without removing your finger off of here. It is definitely fantastic, but if you're just purely thinking this is going to change your game, I can't say that it will. So the advantages is as big as you make it. If you're fantastic with the controller, you're probably going to get more kills because of the Scuf. But if you're not a fantastic player like I am, you're probably not going to see the results that you're hoping to see from the controller. Like I said, it's not a controller that unbreaks the level playing field. It is just an extra option. Now, I said earlier in the video, I've had some issues. None with this Scuf. With my first Scuf, the Xbox One Scuf, I got a screw stuck under the trigger when I first got it. It was a pretty big screw. I don't know how they missed it in playtesting, but Scuf said they would replace it. They replied in the 24 hours because it's a bit of a time zone difference from here to America, and they said we were happy to replace it if you still have issues. By then we resolved the issue. All it took was us to just get the screw out by undoing 1 or 2 screws on the side and just shaking it out, and it came out. So, and since then I had no issues with the controller. The controller worked perfectly fine, and it's the same goes with this one. The Scuf sticks, on the other hand, are very, very fragile. If you like don't baby your controller, like you play it, like you sit there and you, because I can get pretty rough with the controller. I don't throw it or anything, but when I'm playing, I like to put a bit of force behind these joysticks. And after about 3 months, the first set of Scuf sticks split and broke. Lucky my friend had a second pair, because his one, he ordered some spares or something, I can't actually remember. They split after another 3 months, so I just decided to stay with Control Freaks because they protect the joysticks. Even with the Control Freaks, the Scuf stick still will break, so it's not worth it in my personal opinion. Other than that, no issues whatsoever. The controllers are just fantastic in general, and yeah, like I said, no issues at all. The pricing on them though is a little bit pricey, I'm not gonna lie. I spent $230 Australian to get this across and to get a little bit of customization. To get a fully decked out controller probably be like $300 Australian, and that is not worth it in my opinion. This on its own for $220 was like borderline, it's a little pricey, but I decided to do it, pulled the gun, do it. If you're spending, I personally would not spend this money on a controller until you get a monitor. If you're looking for a competitive gaming setup, a good monitor and a good headset is more important than a controller. Spend that money there first if you can't get everything. This should be the last thing you get. This is pretty much just saying I pimp out my shit. Overall though, I'm going to say it is not a must buy, because it is definitely not a must buy, but it is fantastic. The controller itself is great. I do recommend picking one up eventually, but it is not a must buy. If you have the spare money and you want a new controller, I can 100% go get a Scuf. They're fantastic. But on that note, you can't sit there and think it's going to be a major advantage, because a pair of Astros and a monitor is definitely 100% better. Out of 10, I'm probably going to give the Scufs about a 9. I'm taking points off of the expensive pricing. But other than that, they're fantastic. So I hope you liked this review. Remember to like, rate, comment, subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. And I should be uploading more frequently now. This is Dropbear signing out. Peace.